Welcome to Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by SeoSamba. Comprehensive high-performing marketing solutions for mature and emerging franchise brands. To supercharge your franchise marketing, go to SeoSamba.com. That's SeoSamba.com.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. Today on the show, we have Matt Haller, and he is with the International Franchise Association. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Lee, good to be with you. How's it going today?
It is going great. I am so excited to be talking to you. For the folks who aren't familiar, can you tell us a little bit about the IFA? How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so IFA is a trade association. We're based in Washington, D.C. We've been around for 65 years, and franchising, was getting off the ground when IFA, became an entity, and we were created by some of the sort of godfathers of franchising as a way to create a regulatory infrastructure that made sense, so that brands at that time, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Midas, could grow using the franchise business model and do so the right way, and then to teach new concepts as the business model was just coming into its infancy, how to do franchising the right way. So that, occurs through advocacy, it occurs through education, and it occurs through networking and relationships through events and programming that IFA puts on. So we've been doing this for 65 years. We have 1,100 brands who are members of our organization. Everybody from the largest, franchise systems on the globe to somebody that's just got a new concept and wants to figure out how to become the next big thing, and everybody in between. We also have hundreds of thousands of individual owners who are members of the IFA in every community around the country and around the globe. And then around 600 supplier member companies that serve franchising in areas from technology to marketing to law and elsewhere. So that's who we are and what we do. And, we're here to make franchising good as it evolves and help our members, solve challenges.
Now, you mentioned that your organization serves the entire ecosystem in and around franchising, not just the franchisors, but also the franchisees and the suppliers. What do you do to kind of help each of those constituents? Because while they're all complementary, they each have their own kind of needs and desires.
Yeah, it's a unique challenge, but franchising only works when you have all three legs of the stool, as I like to say, going in the same direction. So for franchisors, it depends on the size of the system. So if you're a small or emerging franchisor, you want to learn, about how to grow, how to, make the right choices about which franchisees to bring into your system. So we do that through, mentorship. We do that through a program that we have called Certified Franchise Executive Program. It's a training program that teaches people about franchising. For a founder or, a small company with building out an executive team. We do it through events. So we had an emerging franchisor conference that wrapped up in New Orleans, about 200 people attending and networking and learning different areas of developing a franchise system. So that's kind of on the small side of the franchisor universe. On the big side, the large systems, they mostly are with us for advocacy. They're established. They by and large know how to do franchising, how to do it the right way. And, they want us to protect the business model, a bit of promotion of the business model too, there in terms of educating the public and stakeholders about why franchising is a force for good. And everybody is kind of coming to IFA also to think about, industry trends, how they're benchmarking your franchisor system against others in your category, either the sector that you're in or by system size, as well as, just broader economic trends and how they apply to franchising, whether it's challenges in the supply chain right now, challenges with the labor force recruitment and, filling jobs at franchisee locations or at the franchisor side. So that's a bit of a sketch on the franchisor side. For suppliers, at the end of the day, we're here to help, suppliers connect with brands and franchisees as potential clients. And, many suppliers are also, experts, have been on the franchisor or the franchisee side. So we want to elevate those who really know and understand franchising in various ways of thought leadership. So through publications that we produce, or through speaking at IFA events, or hosting webinars, white papers, things like that. And then for franchisees, our value proposition is a couple-fold. For larger, more sophisticated multi-unit franchisees, who are interested in continuing to diversify, it's a networking and deal-making opportunity. You're learning and making contacts with executives in franchise systems, and that can be valuable as they think about adding new franchisees to their system. A lot of it is also on advocacy, getting franchisees telling their stories to policymakers, and as the individuals who are really in the crosshairs with government in a lot of ways, operating at the local level, and also as speakers and thought leaders around and with our events. So we always try to put a franchisee perspective on everything that we're doing, because our mission is to protect, promote, and enhance franchising, not just franchisors, not just franchisees. It's the business model. So a bit of a thumbnail sketch.
Now, how has, in the years that you've been with the organization and been involved in franchising, how have you kind of seen the industry evolve? You mentioned, at the beginning, there was a handful of pretty large players today, and at least in today's lens, but maybe at the time they weren't as large. But how has kind of the franchise business changed over the years?
Well, I think the different types of businesses that are using the business model just continues to amaze me. I've been with the organization 10 years, and you come into franchising, you think about franchising as restaurants, maybe hotels, maybe a little bit of retail, but the diversification of concepts and sectors that are using franchising as a growth strategy continues to amaze me. One of the newer trends is the use of platform companies and providing shared services to multiple brands, and also the increased involvement of private equity in the franchise sector, and the impact that can have in many ways as a force for good. But again, only if the, as a new leg of the stool, so to speak, understands, how to do franchising, the right way, without, taking too many costs out of the system to provide that infrastructure and that support for, the brand and the franchisees, so that everybody can fulfill their promise through the franchise relationship.
Now, I've been doing this show for maybe a couple years now, and I've seen something that I'm calling like the professional franchisee, where they're kind of building a portfolio of brands that are complementary to one group. Are you seeing that as kind of a way that is spurring growth for franchises?
I am. And I touched on that a little bit in terms of the multi-unit, multi-concept owner in our franchisee membership base. And, we're seeing it both in people who are, or sometimes groups of individuals that are putting together a fund and owning multiple, locations or brands, sometimes operated within the same portfolio company, and then other times where they are, going outside that industry. So, maybe you have all restaurants in one model, but others are looking at, non-food retail and service as other ways to diversify. But at the end of the day, you understand, what drives a good franchise system, and it's, good unit economics at the franchisee level, and, good, steady growth at the franchisor level with the right leadership team providing that infrastructure, and, not something that's overly kind of, a passing moment kind of trend. So I think that's where we see a lot of really more sophisticated operators and investors coming into the franchisee side.
Now, so that's a trend that you're seeing as well, whereas maybe at the beginning of the growth of franchising, it was that individual who's like, I want to have this kind of a place in my town, and now it's more sophisticated groups of people that are...
Yes, we are definitely seeing more of the more larger, more sophisticated, more well-capitalized franchisees. It's not a rule. It's not a across every brand. Some brands, are still very focused on, onesie twosies, and, that can work for certain concepts. But I think on balance, we're seeing a greater trend towards consolidation at both the brand franchisor side as well as the franchisee side.
Now, when that kind of level of sophistication enters into an industry like this is where I would think then the value of the advocacy and the government relations of what your work is becomes that much more important. How has that impacted your work on that side?
Yeah, it's certainly the more sophisticated a franchisee, the more they care about the work that we do to protect franchising on Capitol Hill or in states or city halls. So it impacts it, but there's a negative component to it as well, which creates a challenge because you've got this perception that, has been real and is, somewhat eroding over time that, franchising is this, individual mom and pop person in a community. And, that's not always the case. It is the case in many cases still, but as I said before, franchising is not just small business. It's small, medium, and large businesses, all, I think, doing good things for the economy and for, in most cases, the workforce. But it is not, you can't paint it franchising with one broad brush, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, but but also it's inclusive and there is a place for everybody.
Correct. That is correct. It's still, at the end of the day, a way for somebody who isn't going to develop a new concept or start their own, Lee's coffee shop, gives them a pathway to build wealth and start a business. We like to say you go into business for yourself, but not by yourself in franchising. And if that's something that you want to do at any stage in your career from any walk of life, franchising, creates that opportunity. It's just a matter of finding the right concepts that's the right fit with the right capitalization, the right growth strategy.
Now, is there anything from a legislative standpoint that is kind of in your front burner right now?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I think is worth flagging for the audience. The number one threat to the franchise business model has been this expansion of what's known as joint employer liability. And that's still out there. It's less of a legislative threat in terms of Capitol Hill going in that direction. But on the regulatory side, we do expect to see some changes in 2022 in that area. And that will have an impact on the way franchisors and franchisees are able to interact. I think something that's been a little bit below this radar is a more activist Federal Trade Commission. And the new FTC chair has mentioned that the franchise sector is one of her top 3 priorities for additional regulation. We query whether there's really something that she's trying to solve here, as well as if the FTC even has the authority to do what she seems interested in doing, which is getting more at the franchise relationship, less at efforts to improve the sales and disclosure process, which we would actually be very supportive of. And then at the state level in California, which tends to be one of the more aggressive states in terms of regulations on all types of businesses, that state is going down the pathway of pursuing a fairly aggressive franchise bill focused only on the restaurant sector that would create a wage board, effectively a wage and benefits board established by the governor's office. So it would effectively serve as a labor union for workers in any quick service restaurant franchise with 30 or more locations nationwide. And it would also require brands who operate using a franchise model to be jointly liable for violations of labor law with franchisees. So it's a pretty aggressive proposal, one that we stopped in 2021 in the California Assembly, but is coming back with a vengeance in 2022.
Now, from a membership standpoint, I know you serve all those constituents. Is this something that you're actively looking for members in each of those constituents, or is it primarily focused on the franchisor, franchisee? You mentioned the three legs of the stool, but is this something that everybody that touches franchising should be a member of this? Because number one, you're doing all this work with advocacy and legislation that's going to keep them in business, but also this is where a lot of the connections and learning takes place.
Yeah, both are reasons why if you're in franchising and you're not an IFA member, I think that it's really something that you got to take a look at. We are actively recruiting. We have a whole sales and marketing team that's out, promoting what we're doing. You're getting the benefit for it, but this is about supporting something that helps support your business model, and for a rather modest investment, the dividends pay off, tremendously. Not to mention, it can also help you grow, whether you're a franchisor, franchisee, or supplier, and establish new connections. So, I really encourage people who aren't aware of IFA to check out our website and some of our work at franchise.org, as well as think about attending our IFA convention, which is coming up at the end of February in San Diego. We'll have over 4,000 people there from all three categories of our membership. We're about to announce a few of our keynote speakers next week, right before the holidays. We're excited about some of that coming online and bringing the industry back together. And for first-time IFA members, you actually get a free convention registration. So in effect, it pays for itself year one, but we are fairly confident that once you drink the IFA Kool-Aid, you're going to be back for more the year after that and over the long term.
Now,
so go ahead, Lee.
No, I'm sorry. Finish.
No, I was going to say it's a great organization, one I've been a part of for 10 years, and it really does a lot of good for the franchise sector.
Now, a lot of our listeners are thinking about franchising and thinking about, going this path. So they're checking out a lot of the franchisors that we have as guests here. One of the places to look for a franchise is your website, right? Like you have a listing of franchises on the website?
We do. So any of our member brands can list their franchise offering on the IFA website, and we have a portal that we funnel leads back to our franchisor members. It's not a top reason why people come to IFA, but it is one of the things that we do on behalf of our members. There are lots of other IFA members and others in the franchise community that have very active portals. I think for us, what we're more focused on is educating the public and prospective franchisees with good quality information about how to make a healthy decision in their franchise journey. And we don't necessarily want everybody in franchising. The last thing that a brand wants is somebody that doesn't understand all of the obligations that come with being a franchisee to get into the system. And so that due diligence process, we strongly believe that we're a good, a site that offers healthy and good information from an unbiased perspective about how to make, a good decision about, is franchising right for me? And then, if I cross that threshold, what are some of the brands, certainly brands that are involved with the IFA are, more well-established or working through our education and learning from the best about how to be good franchisors. Right.
I agree 100%. Like if I'm considering buying a franchise, I would rather go to franchise.org and get my information from you before I go into one of these businesses who are in the business of selling me franchises. Like you're kind of advocating for franchises, but you're kind of a trusted source for all kinds of information in and around it. So I'd rather start with you and then find the right path for me. But you have all the information I need. You talk about how to get funding. You talk about, the types of franchises that are out there, even the basics of what is a franchise or what is an FDD. I mean, this is a great place to begin your journey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a .org and a .com, right? Like we're not a for-profit entity. We are, a nonprofit organization that's advocating for the franchise business model, and can be a bit more of a white hat as people search out different information about franchise opportunities and different brands. And we certainly believe strongly that if a brand's willing to make an investment in IFA as a dues-paying member, they're doing it because they want to do franchising the right way. And so finding brands that are affiliated with our organization, I think helps a prospective franchisee, identify those companies that are doing it at a level above others that may not be involved in our organization.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for sharing your story today. One more time, the website?
It's franchise.org, and you can check out our membership area. You can check out our events with our convention coming up in February and some of the work that we do to protect franchising through government relations.
All right. Well, thank you again for sharing your story. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Lee.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Franchise Marketing Radio.